the preliminary list of PPS rate schedules that will be coming out of the rate study.
Yes, Mayor Pete.
Just to recap where we are in the schedule, we're in January and this is the rate schedules. Seen that before. The items I really want to go over is basically the relationship between the rate codes that we have for different rates that we bill on the billing system compared to the rate classes that we will be using for allocated cost of service study, and what rates are not included in that allocated cost of service study, and then other rate design considerations. So it's the relationship between the existing rate codes, the rate classes, and the rate design. So this is a list of the rate codes that we have in our billing system, and it's not anything that we need to go over. Just wanted to let you know that we have rate codes, and so if a customer comes and tells you I'm a rate 54 or I'm a rate 55, generally what they're talking about. For purposes of the allocated cost of service, we will deal with rate classes, and those are highlighted in blue. There's residential, there's general service non-demand, general service demand, and so non-demand, that's your customer charge and energy charge. General service demand means that the rate has a customer charge, energy charge, and a demand charge. And we have separated general service demand into a small and a large class. And we also have an industrial class, which has demand charge. And we treat them separately for the fact that they are industrial. In the yellow, we highlight here the rate codes that are not really separated or covered in the allocated cost of service as a separate class. And I'm going to go through each one of these and why they're not included in the allocated cost of service, or how they're not included in the allocated cost of service. So the first one is this rate code 57, general service demand seasonal. What this is where a customer has a seasonal or concentrated business period, high activity during a certain part of the year, certain season of the year. The customer would want to have all of their, well, that's when their revenues come in. So they want their costs to kind of match their revenue. So if we didn't have this option for seasonal billing, we would have to bill them a demand charge, a minimum demand, because their demand during the seasonal part of the year would force them to have minimum demand charges throughout the year in periods when they don't have a lot of revenue coming in. So what we're going to do for purposes of the cost of service, we'll treat that customer just like they belong in the class they belong in for purposes of analyzing the loads and energy usage. And that way we will develop the rate with the allocated cost based on those loads being included in that class. And then after the costs have been allocated and the rate is defined for that class, we'll develop a rider for any customers that want the seasonal capability for billing purposes, with the intent that these seasonal billings would be revenue neutral on an annual basis to what they would have been billed under the regular rate. So it's just we want to include them in the analysis to make sure that they're treated as one of our regular customers for purposes of rate design, and then after the costs have been allocated and the rates have been designed, then the seasonal feature will just be a rider that adjusts the billings. Next one is the Economic Development Program, and for customers that are on that, we have a separate rate code. But in this is for a new customer or a customer that expands its capacity, and for that additional load, we give them a discounted rate for a limited number of years to help them get established, and it attracts this type of load to the system that wouldn't otherwise be here. But eventually they get transitioned into one of our normal rates, like general service demand or general service large demand or industrial. So for purposes of the allocated cost of service, we will exclude any of these customers from the analysis. We will treat the class as if it doesn't have any economic development customers in it. The load would not include them. The cost would be allocated to that class without the effects of what that load would do on the cost allocation. And then we design a rate as if those customers are not on the system. And the idea here is that we want to offer them a discount, but we don't want to increase the rates for anybody else in order to give them a discount. So we're going to treat them as if they don't exist, allocate the cost and design the rates without them in the rate class, and then phase them into those rates that were developed based on our cost of service. And finally, lighting, all of those different rate codes for outside lighting are going to be excluded from the allocated cost of service. And for two reasons. One, those rates can be developed independent of the allocated cost of service, and can be revised on an as-needed basis, separate from the cost of service. It helps to have some of the data from the cost of service, but it's not necessary. So what we'll do is we'll have all of the costs will be allocated to all of those rate classes, and that would exclude lighting. So all of the costs will be allocated to all of those classes, meaning none of it gets allocated to outside lighting. So the cost will be somewhat inflated because lighting does use energy. So those costs would be spread to all the classes. The effect of that load would be spread to all the classes. But then the revenues that we receive from outside lighting will also be treated as an offset to the revenue requirement. So effectively, we're spreading the cost and we're spreading the revenues to all other classes, and so that each class is sort of made whole for the effect of excluding outside lighting. Now, for the rate schedules, for the rate design, once the costs have been allocated, not a whole lot here that we haven't talked about. For example, for the residential class, this is a basic customer charge, energy charge, but we would consider adding an optional time of use rate for customers with an electric vehicle. Now, what we would do is design the basic rate based on the cost of service, and then the time of use rate, which we don't have any time of use customers now, so we can't allocate cost to them and develop a rate for them based on that. What we do is would design the time time of use rate to have a relationship to the residential rate that comes out of the cost of service. We also talked about encouraging increased use of the bill levelization program, and we're working on ideas for that, and possibly even including a declining block rate structure. That's it for residential. Not much to say about general service non-demand. That's basic customer charge, flat energy charge. We would include the drain pumps, as I mentioned, as part of this rate class, and then develop a separate rate for the drain pumps that shifts a portion of the fixed cost recovery from the energy charge to the customer charge. We have general service demand rate classes, and we have 3 rate classes. That's the small demand customers up to 1,000 kW. We have large demand customers over 1,000, and industrial customers over 1,000. And the distinction there for purposes of rate design is, as you move through those rate classes, or from one of those rate classes to the other, you would put a higher portion of the cost recovery into the demand charge relative to the energy charge. So, the general service demand, small demand customers would have a small demand charge and a bigger energy charge. Large demand customers would have a larger demand charge and a smaller energy charge, and industrial would have even larger demand charge. Then finally, the power cost adjustment. This is a flat energy charge that's adjusted quarterly to recover the difference between actual power costs and the amount of power cost and rate. So just remember that formula: A minus B equals C. Actual power cost minus the amount of power cost in base rates equals C, the charge that is the power cost adjustment charge for the quarter. The only real rate design consideration, because that formula is indifferent to the amount you put in base, it always works. So the consideration is how much to put in base, and I really think there's 2 options. You could put nothing in base, and then your C would be equal to A, big full flow through of all power costs on a quarterly charge basis. But I don't recommend that, because the fixed costs are allocated differently than the variable costs, and the power cost adjustment clause is a billing mechanism that is pure variable. So we want to include at least the fixed costs in the base. So option B actually would be that the fixed cost is included in base, and then the PCA would tend to recover all of the variable costs and just the changes between the amount of fixed costs in base and actual fixed costs. Option A is take all of the power costs and put them into the base, and you basically start out with a 0 PCA, and so you go from there. So that is really it for the rate schedules consideration discussion. Looking ahead, we're going to start to develop the forecast of revenues and revenue requirements and present that next month. We're starting to analyze some of the interval data to develop demand allocation factors that are key to the cost allocation and rate design. That'll start to be presented in March, and then we shooting for rate design discussion in April. So any questions? Any discussion?
So Doug, on the industrial rates and the high demand rates, I think what you said was, as they move down that class, their demand charge increases and their energy charge decreases. Was that correct?
Yes, generally that's the of the amount that would be recovered by that class, a larger portion would be recovered through the demand charge than the energy charge.
So as that relates to the PCA, are they paying the same PCA rate as a residential or any other customer?
Now the PCA rate will be the same for every customer. The amount of power cost in base will be allocated to each class based on the cost of service. So a large demand customer class might have a different amount of power cost embedded in the base, because that's, like I said, mainly the fixed cost portion versus a residential customer. But once all of those costs are embedded, then the PCA is billed based on the difference between actual and the system average cost embedded in rates. So the PCA will be the same for everybody. The amount of power cost in base will be different for everybody.
Okay.
Doug, you've done a good job then with this.
And Doug, would you say that changes in the PCA are primarily the result of differences in variable cost as opposed to fixed?
Well, it depends on how much is embedded in base. If you don't have any variable cost embedded in base, then the change in the PCA is primarily due to changes in the variable cost. If you have it all in there, then it's a combination, and in our case, it's probably more driven by changes in fixed cost than variable.